14 handicap on a follow-up lesson with the driver, looking to continue the improvements on the areas we discussed last lesson, specifically the trail knee flexion throughout the swing and the left wrist cupped angle at the top. So we'll hold that position for a moment and actually draw up where you were with the first swing you submitted. So quickly getting both of these up to the top. And I believe I coined the swing on the right leg locked, meaning your trail leg has completely straightened out and not allowed for any fluidity in the lower body through your downswing. So look at the difference between these two P4 positions. The back leg, as we said, completely straightened out, left knee totally flexed out. Camera angle is a bit off over here, but you've retained the flex and the trail knee more than what you need to. You can allow for a little bit more turn and a little bit more extension here, but great to show that you've actually made such a significant change through your backswing here. It has shortened you up. Lesser turn than you had over here is going to get your P4 top position slightly shorter back, but the benefits that I see and you should see in a moment is what you're going to do with the lower body through the downswing as a result. So first, with the trail knee flexed and ready to go, first move, great pivot towards target and starting to open up your hips. That can help you hold on to the lag angle and provide more speed and power. Over here on the right side, as you're transitioning, you might shallow and drop that club a bit more, but watch that right leg. It's stuck. It hasn't moved, and it sounds like you've heard me say that before because it is exactly what I said. It only jumps. You don't really get a ton of speed and power from there, not to mention the completely cupped and bent left wrist angle at the top. I just mentioned it in a flyby. You took that to heart as you should, and you have flattened it out. Not completely, but you have improved that angle. So goodbye to the first swing. Let's get you back with a full view here and play it through for a more complete analysis, checking up on other aspects. Again, the camera angle might be a bit skewed to this inside plane, so we're not going to worry too much about your angles here, especially your flex from the start. The path will work, quote, to the inside as we work it around your body. The left wrist in a shorter position is certainly flatter than where it was in that first swing, but you've still got a lot of room to go here. So much to where I'd say keep trying to put this hip turn and trail knee flexion at the top slightly on the back burner as you begin your primary focus being on that left wrist flatness. The awkward feeling that it requires you to do is just all it really is, because you're capable of doing it. It just feels really terrible when you do it. It's not a time to do it on the course. It is only a time to do it on the practice tee. So we've got your face on view, and we're using this because it can better illustrate where we want those wrist angles to be at certain points of the swing. So from setup, fine, pretty standardized position. The ball's a little back of where you'll see a lot of players hit it, or a lot of long bombers that try to tee it high, play it forward, and really maximize the ball flight, but keeping the ball where it is for you here is fine. I always like to monitor sway and tilt angles through the backswing, so let's see how you're doing here. Not a ton of movement off, your upper body staying pretty stable. Again, a fairly planted and connected trail leg is doing you well and stopping you from getting too long and repositioning too far out of these angles. Sway of that hips is okay with the driver to help you stay behind the ball and hit up. Try not to get those hips to allow for as much movement off if you're, say, hitting an iron or wedge. But transitioning here, wrist angles, you'll have to just continue flattening it out. Not much more to say than that. There's ways to do it. I think you know how to do it. You just got to do it. But when it comes to the trail knee, just viewing what you're doing here, the initial transition that you have now by keeping the flex in the trail knee has got you moving the legs much better on the way through strike, kicking that right knee forward eventually, and finishing with your weight proper in a nice looking P8 position. And I don't talk about the end position a lot of times because it mostly doesn't matter, but if you have it looking proper, standing tall with backward bend in that almost reverse C type position, you're looking good. So it means you've done a lot of things nicely to get to that position. So areas to focus on are just continued wrist angle and continue to work on that back leg. But here's your tour comparison as to what to work on and how to work on those wrists. So you can see some parallels just quickly, zapping back where the setup is, where the hands are. Dustin's got a little bit more of a forward press, ball a little more forward, lead foot flared open, tons of power, and getting ready to turn. I want you to watch his trail knee and watch his wrist angles throughout certain points. So setup forward at this P2 position. I wish the video were clearer, but the left knuckles are almost pointed straight down to the ground, and his left wrist is certainly flat here. Trail knee not doing much, very restricted, keeping the flex in the trail knee up to the top. Also passing the P3 position, flatness in the wrist. So just begin by trying to nail these first two positions where you have not bent your left wrist at all when the club is parallel to the ground, and then you have not bent your left wrist at all when the arm, your left arm, is parallel to the ground. When done correctly, that hinge might take the club somewhere around 90 degrees vertical to the sky at the top and still keep the flex in the trail knee through the top. Anything beyond this is a matter of flexibility and maintenance of angles. So for now, don't bother going or trying to go further past this angle, because one, you will, and two, you're not going to have to try too much harder to turn more. You'll have to try harder to maintain the very awkward feeling that you're going to have with the left wrist and right wrist at the top. As you, or if you can do that, if you can hold and maintain that nicely closed square face angle at the top, then it is about your trail knee starting the action on the way down. Let's watch Dustin. Holding, turning, freak of nature amount of rotation, and then it just appears like his body's going to slide forward. But what's giving it that slide is the push and drive from here, stemming off the lower body. Watching the right knee now give a extremely pronounced kick in, opening up the hips, and oh, what do you know, again, that left wrist angle flat and maintained until it cannot be maintained anymore, and that club is released with speed and power through strike. But this isn't all about that action. It is just about peaking how the left wrist is maintained almost throughout every position that we can see in this swing here. As soon as you break that angle up at the top, you will have to cast it again at the bottom. So for the sake of argument, here down, lower body, upper body, mechanically you'll get away with it, you're fine. You break this angle here at the top, you need to fix it down here at the bottom by doing this, which is the flip, which is the scoop. And coming to understand the matter of inconsistency that is stemming from just these two frames explains amateur golf. That's it, just inconsistency here to here. Why does it happen? What did you do up there? It's the wrist. So fixing that can lead to the ultimate amateur fix times 1,000 practice swings a day. Finally, your note about taking practice swings about or versus real hits. Its tempo, its speed, and its intention. Even just saying the two words and understanding them completely, a practice swing is just that, a swing. Swing entices more fluidity and no intentions of tension, whereas a hit can be more aggressive, where impact stops at the ball and nothing further matters. Like, you could argue that you hit the ball and let go of the club, the ball's going to go just as far. That's a hit, or a hammer down with a sledge. Whereas a Ken Griffey Jr. practice swing will have the fluidity and ultimately lead to more rotational speed. So enough philosophy there. Good luck. Sendaswing.com.